Hey guys, welcome back to Scaling Beautifully, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on what it really takes to grow a thriving beauty business. I'm Haley, a corrective skin specialist and spa owner who's in the trenches every day with clients.
And I'm Adriana, a tax strategist who specializes in beauty businesses, helping pros like you master the money, tax, and legal side of growth. Together, we'll tackle the small, unglamorous tasks that build a strong foundation so you can stop hustling in circles and start scaling beautifully. Think of this as a resource for what happens after your client or customer leaves. Okay, hey guys. So before we start, I don't want to forget because we forgot last episode our wins and
Oh.
fails.
Yes, okay.
I'm going to go over a win. So my win is family time. I went on vacation and it was very much needed. We went to Puerto Rico only for a couple of days. I think it was like 3, 4 days. So it wasn't for a long, long time, but my husband's family is Puerto Rican and we met up with his uncle and his cousins, and it was really nice. And it was our first time going to Puerto Rico, or my first time going to Puerto Rico. I've been with my husband for like 13 years, and this is the first time he's taken me to Puerto Rico, by the way. Um, but so it was nice. I'm just like, that's a win because I did not look at my and my team handled everything very well. And so that's definitely a win for me. And you know what? That kind of goes along with our topic today, outsourcing. But my fail is also on vacation. So, as y'all know, I have two kids. Jaden is my oldest, and Giovanni is my youngest. Jaden was sick, and we thought it was allergies. So, we're over here buying him like Claritin and stuff for his allergies because he was like sneezing a lot. And we're just like, what a coincidence that he was just fine. But then we get to Puerto Rico. So there must be something in the air, like pollen or something, right? To where it's like affecting him because he's like sneezing a lot. Well, no, we were dead ass wrong. And that boy was sick. And he didn't have a fever or anything, but you could tell he was kind of sick. So he didn't really enjoy the trip, unfortunately. But then as soon as we got home, and like my husband, he's so anal when it comes to like germs and stuff. And like being sick, like he'll legit Lysol us, so he doesn't get sick. And well, since we thought it was allergies, him and Jaden, they were sharing drinks. Josh ended up getting sick, and like he got super sick, and like now I'm feeling it. So like this whole time that we've been recording, Haley, like I have my medication, I have Tylenol over here because I am feeling it too. And
Yeah.
so that's my fail that we didn't, catch it. We didn't take care of ourselves to where I feel like once your kid gets sick, as parents, naturally we're gonna get sick too.
Yeah. Same thing with us. Like, definitely my fail. Oh my gosh. We've been working on house projects. Like, we've been talking about what I've been trying to do financial wise and saving for lately. These past 2 years have been house projects. So, we just got our flooring done. And, like, girl, it was a nightmare. The company that we use, although they're a big corporation and have lots of reputable reviews, we just did not have a good experience with them. They didn't tarp off anything in our house as far as like counters, appliances, furniture, only our couch. And that's only because I had to ask them multiple times. And so the amount of dust in our house, because
Mm,
our downstairs was mostly tile, so removing tile is just like awful. It
yeah.
is made my husband got sick first and was on like all the nighttime medication for a week. I have had like a lot of drainage now, so I have to keep like running to the bathroom to try to like clear my throat and blow my nose. And then last night, youngest, my 6-year-old, we had to give him Benadryl because he was like clearly having
Oh
some type of allergic
no.
reaction. It's just so irritating. The company actually has to come out and do a service call for us this Thursday because while they were there, they also damaged a lot of things in our house. And I reported it all back to them, photos and stuff. And they want me to resend photos today when I get home. So that's kind of annoying. So it's just not been a good experience with them trying to do these house projects. We're also like kind of learning as we go with hiring contractors for house projects. So like it was just a learning experience. And then probably my win is I don't know as much in estimated taxes as I thought I
Yeah.
did. It's definitely a doable number for me. And I also need to put money, like distribute money into my retirement account and my employees' entire my retirement account. And I need to figure out what that is going to look like after Black Friday, which I'm really excited for Black Friday this year because we've prepped so well and have done so many strategic things. I can't wait until after so we can have a whole episode on kind of like what that
Got
looks
it.
like in business and what people can plan for next year because it's November right now. And even if we did an episode 2 weeks before, you would not be able to implement those things. But I'm using Black Friday to be able to put into myself and my employees' retirement accounts, whatever else I owe in taxes because I've been paying my estimation, and then maybe pay off one of my machines that I'm financing because I'm currently financing two. So I'm really excited for that, and I'll report back and let y'all know how much of that I was able to complete and if there was anything left over.
Yeah. No, I think that's gonna be great, and, I know that you were just like, "I'm so happy about the estimated taxes," because we
Yeah,
were literally
I
just
thought it
talking
was
about
like
that. Mhm.
double that. And I was like, ooh, that's going to be, we'll see. That's going to work out, but like, we'll see. And then when you told me, I was like, oh, I could do that right now. That's fine.
Yes. Which is great. So, those are our fells and, wins for the week, and I know we didn't say it last episode, so we're gonna get better. But, okay, so today, Haley, do you wanna talk about what we're gonna talk about?
So, we're talking about something near and dear to my heart. It's like the hidden cost of operating the business, and it's also burnouts. I've definitely been burnt out in my business in the past, and I was very open about sharing it on my Instagram. And then how I pivoted my business by knowing when to outsource and how much to pay with outsourcing. Because every year, as my business scales and makes more, we sit down and decide how much I can budget for that outsourcing. Should I be giving my employees a raise based on performance and how much they're helping bring into the business and all that good stuff? If you're somebody who's ambitious and wants to scale, nothing changes if nothing changes. So you need to know how to do these things. And then
Mhm.
burnout is like the leading cause as to why beauty providers only last 3 to 5 years. So we want to help you avoid that. This can be a very profitable career for the long haul. Also, we want to help y'all with things like retirement accounts too. So we're gonna talk a little bit on all of that. Not the retirements account, but that will be coming soon.
Also, let's be real, guys, like, doing it all might make you feel in control, but it is the fastest
Oh
way
God,
to cap.
I need to cough. Okay, sorry.
There, it's okay.
I feel
So,
like I don't know how to mute.
yeah. But okay, guys, so, let's be real. Doing it all might make you feel like you're in control, but the fastest way to cap not only your burnout, but also your income. And I mentioned this before too. We are only one person and there's only so many hours a day. So there's only so many things that we ourselves can do. So like if you're trying to save money by doing everything yourself, you're actually costing yourself some money just because that takes time away from you, like doing sales or services or doing things that will help you make more money in the long run. I want to share something. There was a client that I had in the past, and they were okay. I'm like, how much detail do I really want to give? They weren't in the beauty industry. They did something else. It was a husband and wife business. And they were just like, no, it's just gonna be us. We're gonna do everything ourselves. Like they didn't want to hire an assistant. They didn't want to outsource anything because their reasoning was, I don't want them to see how we do things and then them turn around and start their own business. And I
That's
was
so
just
crazy to
like,
think.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't want to give too much information, right? Because then I'm just like, I don't want, I feel like there's like FBI people here in the, as listeners, and they might
Yeah.
dig. I remember having conversations with them and saying, like, hey, you're gonna like cap out. Like I know, and I know like the saying is like if you have a business, like like reach for the stars and like there's no cap, but there is because it's only just you. Until you start outsourcing or delegating things. They didn't want to hire because they were just like they're gonna learn everything that we do and how we do things, and they're gonna turn around and open their own business, and then now they're gonna be
Also,
competitors.
that's such a crappy mindset to have because 90% of your clients are going to come to you because they like you. And
Right.
most people don't want to get to start over and like get to know and get established with somebody else. So
Right.
thinking that your success only comes from like the way you I don't want to say like strategize things, but your exact systems is so silly. Most of it has to do with the relatability and how people connect with you and trust you. So that's just like a silly mindset. If you currently have that mindset, you need to let that go.
Yeah. And I actually spoke with somebody a couple weeks ago too that had a similar mindset. So they're a peer. So they're in the tax industry. And she's just like, I really want to hire, like, I need a tax professional. Like, I need to hire somebody because I'm just getting to that point. And she's like, but I don't want them to just use me and turn around and open their own business. And then I'm just like we can't think that way. Like honestly speaking, like there's plenty fish in the sea, especially in the tax industry. Like every person that walks is a client. You know what I mean? And like you can't have them all. Like everybody in the United States is a client because everybody has to file taxes. So like you can't have that mindset. You know, if somebody starts their business, they start their business. And then I'm just like, I don't see you as my competitor. You know, like I see you as a peer. And like that's I feel like we just need to get out of that mindset because that is also stopping you from growing and scaling. Again, negativity spreads. That's a form of negativity and being selfish and, you know, like wanting it all for yourself. And that's not okay. Just like that wife and husband, honestly, not to like shit on them or anything, but they're not doing good anymore. You know, like we stopped working together a very, very, very long time ago. But they're not doing well. And like, I don't even know if they even have a business anymore. And it's because of that mindset. Like, to me, if that happens, like, one, as a business owner, you're going to protect yourself. So, whenever you do outsource or when you delegate or when you hire, you're going to have contracts in place. You're going to have an employment contract. You're going to have, I know like the non compete isn't really there anymore. I believe like last time I checked for
No, it
like
doesn't
federal.
hold up in most
Yeah.
places.
Yeah. But you can put in your employment contract, they can't like try to take your clients. You know what I mean? So like there and like everything that you use is like confidential and like all of that stuff. So you put all that in the contract and then it's in a legal document now. So like you're protecting yourself. And you know, like I'm just like because the person that I was speaking to, the peer that I was speaking to a couple of weeks ago, she's just like, I don't want to pay for their training and all of this stuff. And I was like, then have it in your contract that you're paying for their training and their classes. And if they're not with you for you know, this full tax season, then they're going to have to pay you back. Because the thing
Yeah.
here in the tax industry is every year we need to keep up with our education and with a lot of estheticians too, right? Like we have the continuing education. So I'm just like, it's not like a crazy expensive for the classes
No.
or courses, you know?
Because my assistant recently wanted to take a course for something that she wanted to learn that would also better my business. And I didn't have that in my contract when I hired her because I decided to delegate to her really early in my business
Mhm.
because I knew it was something I needed in order to grow, even though financially I wasn't quite there yet. And I will explain how I still ended up doing it and whether you want to do something like that too or whatever. But I just ended up telling her, okay, like via email, very formally, I am willing to pay for this course as long as you stay with me for the next 24 months. It was something that had to do with Black Friday. So I was like, I want to see you stick out to Black Fridays if I'm paying for this course for you to continue your education. And my employee is like an assistant. So she does also assist other beauty businesses. But I never sit here and think like, oh, I don't want you to work with somebody in my town, or oh, I don't want you to implement
Right.
what you implemented with me with these other businesses because I know for a fact that even because she does primarily work with estheticians, I know for a fact that even if she implements the same strategies and structures that she does for me for these businesses, that's not going to necessarily make them successful. The success comes down to the business owner, like the esthetician themselves, and how
Right.
they're utilizing everything that she's implementing. So if you have that mindset, I feel like you don't have a good mindset for yourself. Number one, you're not confident enough in yourself. But you've got to let go of that mindset. If you're not ready to grow with that mindset. You're not ready to succeed
Exactly.
with that mindset. You're not ready to scale. And that your mindset, you're going to hear us talk a lot about that because it is so important. Do you think that like people who are very wealthy and millionaires, billionaires have a negative mindset every day? No. So like you
Or that they're
shouldn't
just
either.
like, just because you're gonna win, I don't like means that I'm not gonna win. No, they're all like, let's do this together or something, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, like that mindset is definitely not okay to have. If that's what's stopping you from like outsourcing or hiring, definitely let that go because you're not going to get far with that kind of attitude or mindset.
Also,
And
too,
if
one of the points I wanted to make, sorry to interrupt you guys, we have to interrupt each other a little bit with the way we're recording because it does have a few second lag. So we can't give each other a visual cue to talk. We're interrupting each other. It's fine. We're not
yeah, we're
annoying
okay
each
with it.
other for doing it. But got my employee only my second year in business. We've been working together for close to 4 years now. And I did hire her at a time where I was barely paying myself, just because of what we talked about on the last episode was the different entities and which entity I fell in. And I was paying myself such a little amount. And I was getting serious that year about making more, paying myself more. And part of that was contract my employee to work for me. And I was paying her a month more than I was paying myself just for like about 3 or 4 months for us to get the ball rolling with some tasks because I knew that that was a small sacrifice for me to make in order, because I knew also she was the right person for my business based on what I'd see her do with other businesses, her own. And after talking with her and working on a project, the first
You
project she
saw the
did for me
value in
was,
her.
yeah, she was my first website. And so I asked if she could come on and do something more regularly, more part-time. And over the years, we've worked her up to full-time. And now I'm able to pay her a livable income in her state. Where if this was her only job, she would be able to support herself and family. And I'm really proud in business that my small business, and I don't really want to say small because I do big business numbers, but that my business that I run by myself is also able to support another family somewhere else. So I made that really short term sacrifice because I knew I was working with the right person in order to see my business scale. And now it's definitely to a point where I can't do most things without her help. I give her like a lot of free reign with a lot of things. And don't get me wrong, we still have to come together and collaborate for pretty much everything and also just be like, hey, this is kind of what I'm seeing. I need to redirect this and make sure we're on track, whatever. So it's not always just like smooth sailing, perfectly seamless, but it's something I prioritize, so that I'm not burnt out in my business. I don't want to spend any more unpaid time on my business outside of my admin day. So
Mhm.
Mondays are my admin day after we record the podcast. I don't want to spend any more unpaid time working on social media, email marketing, following up with clients, doing inventory, working on things that Adriana needs for my taxes. So I handle the things that my assistant Jessica doesn't have access to because she has access to pretty much everything. She's like a full-time freckled skin employee. The things like the taxes, the client direct communication, client routine, a little bit of client questions and things like that. I handle it myself. And then everything else that doesn't fit within to that single day of admin time, she does so that I can be present with my clients and also be present at home.
Mhm. One thing too that I was thinking of whenever you said that, I mean, you definitely saw the value in her, and
Mhm.
honestly, I mean, it's paid off, Haley, right? Like, she has definitely helped your business, and even if she's working with other estheticians, like, you don't have that mindset of being like, "No, like, you should only work with me and me only." Like, no,
Yeah.
like, I feel like and I'm very, like we talked about this, like, I'm very also, like, spiritual, so, like, whatever you give out is what you get, and, like,
Mhm.
if you don't, like, have that type of mindset, you know what I mean? Like, you're seeking nothing but and, like, attracting nothing but, like, abundance, you know? And,
Yes.
because you're not being very like, you're not being selfish. Another thing too, is that you hired me really, like, early on in your business too,
Oh, I
before
did
you
because
were
I
even
tried to
making a
file my
profit.
taxes. I was not making
Mhm.
a profit. I was filing my taxes by myself and couldn't figure it out. And I was just like, I'm not going to last next year through the end of
Mhm.
next year if I don't do this right now, even though I wasn't able to like give myself a livable income just yet. I was
Right.
like, there's no way I will get to that point if I don't have help. And that was like the next thing I wanted to touch on. First, I started with bookkeeping and taxes, because like I talked about on Patreon, if you're over there, I got into a situation where there was tax fraud in my first marriage, and luckily I had nothing to do with it. And through the court hearing, I was removed from the situation because I truly was not involved in what was happening. The other party, my ex-husband, had to take care of it all. But I didn't want to get myself into that situation again. And I had came from the finance world where I knew how important it was to manage your money properly. You can make all the money in the world. And I think that's something that I hate and is so toxic about our industry. You can see really big estheticians or influencer make a lot of money, but they're also spending a lot of money to keep up that lifestyle that y'all like watching. So they're not necessarily profiting. What's more important to me is the profit. I want to have the profit. I don't really care about how much I bring in a year. I care about what is left over after everything's paid. Then I got into having admin help, which is my assistant, and she helps with scheduling. The next thing you could do, she also does like my social media. That was the next thing, the third thing we added. And then after that, if you want to, something else in our industry is like having somebody clean your space every week, having a laundry service. Those are not things I want to do in my personal setup because I like to do those things myself. There's so much delegating that could help. And I can tell you the best thing I ever did was paid for somebody else to control my social media.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, I'm just like, I could talk about that for a long time. So I did my own social media for a very long time, and I'm not like social media savvy. And so I was just posting with no strategy, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like I feel like with me, I didn't get my clients because of my social media. I felt like I got my clients because I would like reach out to them. Like you
Yeah.
know how like back then like people would do cold calling? Well, I would do like cold DMing. and but then like
Yeah.
whenever
I
you
still
would
get some
go,
cold
yeah.
PMs.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like that happens a lot, right? Which, like, I'm all for, like, you're hustling, go for it. I feel like I did have a good amount of stuff on my social media to where people would go back and check. It was fine, but again, like, no strategy, no SEO, none of that, right? I ended up training my admin, and I invested in courses for her too for like social media. And then I just told her, like, you're going to have to do, like, you're doing the social media because I would spend hours doing and
Yeah.
planning and creating. I would rather spend those hours just like doing consultations or, doing new client calls or,
Yeah.
other forms of marketing than actually just creating the content for social media. Cause I'm also very black and white. Like I'm a numbers girly. Like I'm not creative at all, so I struggled with that.
I will say too that like really busy, successful estheticians and like honestly any entrepreneur, they are not bringing in multiple six figures and running their social media every day. I promise you they're not. And I am seeing some of them say that they are. And I know who is actually running their social media behind the scenes just from my assistant and being in that same field. So I'm like, really social media is the best form of free marketing. You need it for your
Right.
business nowadays. But like, let's have a good mindset around what that looks like because my social media start was like very different from yours. I went from having 13 followers on my personal page because I did not ever post on social media. I was someone to give you perspective. I graduated in 2012. I did not get a Facebook. I graduated high school in 2012. I did not get a Facebook account until 2012. I was a senior
Girl.
in high school once I got social media. I didn't have social media before then. I've just never been a super outgoing person. And I only had social media after with my 13 followers to update my family on my son
Right.
to let
Yeah.
them see I have so when I started my esthetician page in school, because it was part of a requirement was for us to have social media for like the marketing side of our curriculum. And I grew my page to the current follower account in a year and a half. Because I was gaining like thousands of followers a day sometimes, but it was because I had all day to create content and do those things.
Mm.
And 7 days a week, all day long, I would be scrolling, getting ideas, getting inspiration, trying things out, archiving it, and trying something new and seeing what worked. But my strategy was I was posting relatable things to the industry. So who were my followers? They were estheticians.
Estheticians. Mhm.
Now, and that wasn't making me any money. I had like probably 15,000 followers and I was barely paying myself $500 a month. So I want y'all to have a healthy mindset around what that looks like too. when I started working with my assistant, she was like, "Hey, this is great and all, but it's not helping you because the strategy is to gain notoriety in the industry and to make a name for yourself. It's not actually to bring people into your business." And so now we solely post to a clientele, to my ideal clientele in my local area in this side of Texas, because my reach is pretty far. I market up to a 3 hour radius because I do have clients that drive up to 3 hours. Does my page continue to grow? No. And I'm okay with that. My page hasn't grown in like 3 years, which is fine because on the back end, financially, my business continues to scale every month. It makes more and more than the
Right.
month before. Do I get likes on my post? No. But does that matter? No, because everything I'm getting more and more stable and secure behind the
Mhm.
scenes with the finances. And I wouldn't have known to do that or been able to do that without my assistant kind of like shifting that perspective for me. And it was hard for a year. I was like, hey, the posts aren't doing well. Like they're not, I would get like 700, 500 likes and now I'm getting 35. And she's like, but you're fully booked now. Why do you care? Like you weren't fully booked
Right.
before. It took me like a full year to reshift my mindset thanks to delegating to her. And I don't think I would have learned that or trusted that process without her constantly like reinforcing that into me. And now I'm like, okay, I don't even care if posts get likes at all now.
Right, and that's one thing that I wanted to say is followers don't translate to dollars in your bank account, you know what I mean? Because I outsourced recently to a social media agency now that I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like level up my social media presence and like reach other people, and I just need the help because again, there was no strategy on my end. So that's something that I actually outsourced here recently. And I and like my admin was doing great, but again, she's not a social media expert, you know what I mean? And like it's fine. I just had to get one. So I say that because the followers doesn't really translate to dollars in your bank account. And that's one thing that I told my social media agency. I'm just like, look, I honestly don't care about how many followers I have. I care about the quality of my post, right? And that it's like educational. And I want people to be engaged. Like the people who do follow me, I do want them to be engaged and like in me and in my business because that's going to translate to numbers in my bank account. You know what I mean? Like they're going to see like that I am the expert and they're going to reach out to me and they're going to book consultations. They're going to want to be my client. Like that's what I want. So I don't care about how many followers I have or anything like that. I just care more about the people being engaged to where they want to work with me. And that's my whole
Yeah.
thing with social media. We need to remember we're business owners, not influencers, right?
But also, there's lots of influencers that still have full time 9 to 5 jobs because
Exactly.
having 400,000 followers doesn't always pay the bills and they have to do brand
Right.
deals. And oh, I
Mhm.
hate brand deals. I get offered brand deals almost weekly in my business, and they're not anything that aligns with me or that I would want my clients using. So I've never ever done a brand deal. I get so much PR sent to me from like every brand you find at Walmart and Target. I just donate it to the local donation thing that's here in town. I had something to say too to that and I forgot, but a lot of them have 9 to 5 because a lot of them get PR in exchange for those posts that they're doing. They're not even paid posts.
Right.
I get the thing. We'll either pay you up to $2,000 for 7 tasks that we want you to do. You have to talk
Mhm.
about it 7 times for $2,000. I'm like, that's not enough. Or they're like, we'll just pay you in product. We'll give you free stuff. And I'm like, that's not
Right.
valuable to me. No thanks. Plus, these things don't align with me. So even influencers who have hundreds of thousands of followers still work a regular 9 to 5 job while they're
Mhm.
growing their influencing. So it's kind of like understanding that makes a big difference too.
Right. And I kind of want to touch on that really quick because it just popped in my head. And a lot of people don't know this, but if companies are sending you PR or like if brands are sending you products and if they're not paying you, a lot of times they will issue you a 1099 for the amount of that product. So even though they didn't like give you actual money, you're still getting taxed on that product, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And like not a lot of people know that, you know. So if
And
you do
that's
do
when the
brand
brands are
deals.
reaching out to you and they're like, "Hey, we're
Right.
gonna send you a package. What do you want from our line?" They have the right to
Exactly.
send that to you. So when I get those messages, I don't answer. But
Yeah.
if they just send it to me without me requesting or anything, I'm just kinda like,
Mhm.
whatever, I'm gonna donate it.
And that's perfectly fine because you're not getting taxed on it or anything like that, right? But let's talk about like the illusion of saving money when you're not outsourcing. So most
Yes.
small business owners think I'll just do it myself. But every hour spent outside of your zone, like out of what you're doing, is lost revenue potential. So if you're spending 2 hours doing your own social media, that's 2 hours you could in a client, and think of your time, right? Like how much is your time worth? So your time has a dollar value. Start treating it that way. So if your time is worth $100 an hour, you're spending and let's say you're spending 10 hours on admin tasks. That's $1,000 lost and not saved. That's
Yeah, I
honestly
think of
how
that with
you have to think
everything.
about it. Yeah. And so
I'm
like
always like, for these 3 hours, how many clients could I fit in, and what would be the
Mhm,
average ticket price for their service? That
exactly.
always puts a lot of perspective in for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're an SD and like let's say your average, service ticket is $100, that like, that's $300 lost right there for the 3 hours that you're spent doing something else. So I'm just like I would rather delegate because then it's going to burn me out. Like I'm going to lose creativity or motivation or momentum. It's gonna, I'm like, I'm gonna be inconsistent. There's gonna be mistakes, missed deadlines, poor client experience, then
That's what
that's
I was
gonna affect
literally
my
gonna talk
reputation.
about.
Yeah.
I was
There's like
literally gonna
so
talk
many
about,
things.
do y'all understand what burnout even looks like? Because I see it every day on social media, and sometimes I get to the point where I wanna say, "Girl, you're burnt out right now." I don't want to be in your close friend story on your Instagram listening to you rant about all these things because you're putting yourself in this predicament, and it's like snapping at all the small things. Like, yes, you should be allowed to vent. I vent to my assistant all the time, but we vent with a purpose to each other. I'm like, hey, X, Y, and Z happen, and I'm pissed right now, so I'm allowing myself to be pissed, but what can we do to change this process so that it doesn't happen again? That is
Right.
like productive venting, so that I'm not getting burnt out and feeling unexpired, avoiding tasks that you used to love. Neglecting yourself while trying to keep the business afloat is a big one, because we could all tell. We tell when you come on your story and we talk, we could tell just by the way you look, by the way your eyes look, the way you're presenting yourself, the way you're speaking, the way your body language is. We can all tell. And that translates to clients too. People
Right.
are going to be interested in your business and looking at your stuff, and you reek of burnout. It's like tattooed across your forehead, that they're no longer going to be excited to come to you and prioritize spending their hard earned money with you or time away from their family with you, because it's super apparent that you're lacking that passion in your business because your frustration now outweighs your purpose. And I've been
Yes.
there. If you're someone who followed
Yeah.
me for a long time, I've been there and I was very open about it. I have literally posted, because I made courses in 2023 and 2024 on how I pivoted my burnout over these four things, these four topics. And I used to sit in my car after work and cry for like 20 minutes because I was just so burnt out. I didn't enjoy the clientele I worked with, so I was just taking anybody. I wasn't letting my assistant have enough control because I wanted to control it all. It was taking time away from my family. It was hindering my marriage. I was not taking care of myself. It was absolutely horrible. So I created four courses on how to pivot these four different pillars in business to scale and to kind of put things into like a system or an automation so that I could make money while I sleep so that there was less stress.
Mhm.
But a lot of it was all because I was burnt out, and I don't wanna see that for y'all. Luckily, I was able to pivot my business, but it was hard. I spent 24 months pretty much getting rid of, like, 75% of my clientele and rebuilding.
I also remember, Haley, having conversations with you like, are you going to want to like hire employees? And I remember you being like, no, I'm not going to hire any employees. But I think at that time, like your mindset was hiring another esthetician, right? Because
Yeah.
like now you have your admin. So when you get asked that question or when you like guys, like when you get asked, like, oh, are you going to want to hire somebody? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be another service provider. It could be like
Right.
a social media person, it could be a bookkeeper, it could be an admin, like s- tasks that you don't like to do, or that take too much of your time, that are tedious, that's what you're going to want to outsource and delegate. So, like one with me, like my admin was one of the first people that I outsourced. Also, I have an assistant bookkeeper now because I have a lot of clients, like I'm not going to be able to do it all. And then a tax preparer. So I do legit have employees, aside from my admin and like outside of these employees, because these are payroll employees, I outsourced my social media to an agency. So they're contracted, right? So like they invoice me every single month. So those are different ways that you can hire people. It doesn't directly have to be a W-2 employee, right? It could
Right.
be somebody that could just help you get organized with either, just your schedule, work, social media, your financials, and you want to delegate things that also you're not good at, right? So like if you are not good with numbers, you need to outsource your bookkeeping, right? And your taxes. If you're not good with social media, you need to outsource your social media. It's taking too much time for you to respond to the emails or messages, you need to hire a receptionist or an admin or an assistant. Those are the types of things that you also have to think about. And like you want to reclaim your time for higher value work, like I mentioned, get better results from experts, right? Again, if you're not good at these things, you want to hire the expert. Every thriving business owner eventually realizes that freedom costs money, but burnout costs more. I actually hired a housekeeper. So she's my aunt but I pay her. Yeah. I was like, she's my tia. But I was like, if I'm gonna hire a housekeeper, it's gonna be like my tia's already in that industry. Like she does that for a living. I'm just gonna go ahead and hire her. So
Yeah.
she comes in every other week and she like cleans my house and like she washes my sheets, she washes my towels, like, and it's such a lifesaver because I'm to the point in my personal life where like I was doing everything. Like I was taking the kids to
Yeah.
school, picking them up, cooking, cleaning, doing everything. And I cook dinner almost every single day except for like the weekends, and like summertime when the kids are here, I'm cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like now this year, things changed a little bit because my husband, he goes into work a little later. So now he takes the kids to school. So that's one less thing, right? That I have to do. Like he makes their lunch, he feeds them breakfast and takes them to school and gets like them ready for school and all of that stuff, which is a big, big, big weight off of my shoulders, right? But I'm like still doing everything. And I'm also running a business on top of that. I was talking to one of my coaches and she's just like, you need to outsource something. Either you need to get a chef or you need to get a housekeeper. I was like, well, I don't know if I could afford a chef. Like it kind of seemed out of my like
Well,
reality.
honestly, if you're someone that eats out like pretty regularly once a day, it's actually cheaper to hire a chef, which
And
is
that's exactly
crazy.
what I was gonna say. There's also, like, certain businesses that deliver, like, food to you, and you know what I mean? Like, so that saves, like, money. You could freeze it, or it comes frozen, or, it's fresh, or you cook it, like the Hello
Meal
Fresh or
prep
things like that.
company. Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's different ways that you could also outsource, like, personal stuff too. So, like, now and honestly, housekeeping, I'm just like, I always kinda thought that that was really expensive, even though, like,
It's
my aunt
really
was,
not.
but it's not. I'm just like, it's way, way less than what I was paying for daycare. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
way, 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 way less. So, I'm just
Also,
like
me trying to clean my whole house by myself takes me
mhm,
when like my family, my boys and my husband do help, but I'm very type
right.
A and man clean is not the same version as me clean.
I get
So
it.
me trying to clean by myself takes a full Sunday, which is like my full
Yeah,
off day, and that is
right.
not worth it to me. But I was going to add, guys, that delegating out doesn't have to be super expensive.
Mhm,
You don't have to hire like is it a 1099 or a W-2 employee? My
right.
assistant now is that, and she gets a W-2 or whatever. At first, she was just contract. We talked about what my like she had her own business, which
Mhm,
is, ooh, don't get me wrong on what it's called, but she had her own like graphic design company where she made websites and did social media and email marketing. And I did a consultation with her and I was like, this is how much I can afford a month right now. But if you, these are my goals and where I want to grow on the back end, if you can help me grow those things, I want to consider hiring you on full time and like slowly increasing the tasks that you're doing in exchange for paying you more, right? So we started really small. I think I was paying her $1,000 every 2 weeks. And like pretty much every quarter, I would meet with Adriana, who does my taxes and everything. And I was like, okay, I really want to know how much more, like she's been helping me for a quarter now. What's the growth that we see? How much more could I pay her in exchange for her doing more tasks until we got to the point where she's just W-2. She gets paid on payroll through my
Right.
business. So it
Which
doesn't
is a
have to
great
be crazy
benefit for her.
expensive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also helps me
It
save on taxes as well.
exactly. Exactly. And yeah, it doesn't have to be crazy expensive, right? And you just really have to know we go back to like your foundation. You really need to know your numbers and what you can't afford. And like you want to take a look at your return of investment. So outsourcing is a business investment, not an expense. That's something also that I want you guys to fully understand. So when you hire bookkeeper, that's an investment. When you hire a social media agency, that's an investment. An admin, that's an investment. I always talk about it with my clients too. Like you want to take a look at your return of investment. Are you getting what you're putting out pretty much, right? And for example, there's going to be two ways that you're going to take a look at your return of investment. One is going to be monetary, and then the other one's going to be time. So to me, time is money, right? And it's going to be like that for anybody that's a service provider, because if you're not in the room providing the service, you're not getting paid, right? So time is money for you. And when you track your ROI, which is your return of investment, when you delegate, your revenue per hour should increase because now you have more time to do the things that make you money, right? And then, so on top of that, too, I go over it with my clients like, okay, let's take a look at your return on investment. I'll give you an example with like my social media agency. We just started working together not that long ago. So I really don't have a return of investment just yet because they literally just started posting like a couple weeks ago. Right. And I know this isn't something that's overnight. So what I'm doing is I'm tracking my stats and I'm tracking my new client leads and I'm tracking how many book clients I'm getting, which is a lot of tracking to do. Right. But you have to do this for you to really understand your numbers. You got to track everything. So I'm tracking all these little things that don't really take me much time. And then in a couple of months, in 3 months, I'm going to go back and take a look at my numbers and I'm going to see, okay, well, I ended up actually booking X amount of clients with the social media agency. Yes, they're giving me a return of
Good.
investment. It's worth it. It's working. Now, with my admin, she doesn't do sales, like she doesn't do anything anymore towards like marketing or anything like that. But how I'm tracking my return on investment with her is my time. How much time am I saving by having her on payroll? I'm saving a lot of time. She's part-time, but that's all we need right now outside of tax season. Once we're in tax season, she's a little more full-time. But outside of tax season, she's working 20 to 25 hours a week. That's 20 to 25 hours of work that I'm not doing. That's 20 to
Right.
25 hours of time that I give back to my kids or that I'm able to open up my calendar for more consultations for either my bookkeeping clients or new clients. So I'm just like those are the two ways that you need to take a look at this investment. So yeah, so you want to start small, right? With admin, bookkeeping, social media, and then kind of scale up. And you don't have to wear every hat to prove you're successful. You just have to wear the right ones,
Oh,
right? So doing it
yeah.
all yourself, yeah, doing it all yourself builds a job. Delegating builds a business.
Right. If you look at my business, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell which tasks Jessica does versus what I do. And that's for a number of reasons. We have a very clear brand strategy because she also did my branding. So whenever I post versus when she posts, or when I show up versus when she shows up for me, it looks the same. So you can't really tell. But also, too, when you hire and delegate out to the right people, and the more y'all build a healthy relationship, because with me, I want to be a good employer, I want to be a good boss. We've built a relationship to where I'm now comfortable going to her and saying, hey, dude, I had my tax meeting today. This is what profit and loss is looking like. What do you think we can implement in your tasks to help turn that? Or where I'm
Mm.
noticing this pattern in business with bookings or whatever, or Black Friday is coming up, or whatever is coming up. What do you think we could do to pivot this and see X amount of scaling, or flip it to where we're profiting a little bit more because we haven't been these few months? What do you think we can do? And I'm very open to hearing her strategy as well, because we have built that relationship over 4 years. So she is now a strength in my business and someone I
Mhm.
rely on. I really see her as a partner because she now
She's
cares
an
as
asset.
much about my business. She is, and she cares about my business just as much as I do. So when you find the right people and work together and build that relationship, it becomes like the best thing ever. She is truly like a partner in my business, and it helps
Mhm.
me continue to grow all the time. The more she learns and the more strengths that she develops, the more I learn and the more different strengths I develop as well. So my business has two really strong people on different ends of the spectrum working towards the same goal.
Right. And just really quickly touching on being a good employer too. Like that's going to take a lot of things for you to do. Like you got to make sure you train them. You got to make sure you have that open communication with them because if you just throw
Yes.
them out to the wolves, like nothing's going to happen. You know, you need to
Right.
take the time and like mold them or have that communication if they're already like an expert. So like that's one thing with me and my clients. I want to be seen as an asset. I want you to do better. I want to see your business scale. So I always tell my cousins, my clients that we need to have that relationship, you know, like we need to have that communication, that trust, because I'm not going to tell you to do something that I will never do or that I have either haven't done or that's going to be bad for your business, you know. So you really need to get those people in your corner and like you want to make sure you interview and you ask all the questions. You want to make sure that you're a good fit with them and that they're a good fit with you, that you can have this open communication because as like me as a bookkeeper, like not everybody's either like me or I'm not going to like them or we're just not going to be able to work together and that's okay. Need to do like interviews and consultations with all kinds of people, whether you're interviewing for admins or you know bookkeepers, tax preparers especially, and like social media people, agencies, managers. Like you want to make sure you get someone that you could trust, that you could talk to, that you could have that open communication with, and that they're going to look out for you and your business too.
Yeah, having open communication is like the main thing. Because I will say, just to give you some transparency, me and my assistant working together has not always been smooth sailing. There was a short period of time where we quit working together for 4 months because we were bumping heads so hard, because neither one of us was open to listening to the other person. We both wanted to do what we thought was best instead of collaborating or taking the time to teach the other, hey, this is why I want to do this, and this is what I perceive from doing this task, or this is why maybe I'm not on board with that. Can you walk me through it a little bit more? But having that open communication, and also me once a week, we talk near every day. We talk every single day, other than weekends. We talk multiple times a day. But also once a week, I just check in with her and I'm like, what do you need from me to make your job easier? Let me know. I will say I need to work on making sure I deliver all of that to her, because I'm not always able to get everything she asks for delivered. But it's a learning curve, and you have to be open to hearing about yourself. You can't
Right.
have this really crotchety mindset of, I want to do it all myself. I don't want anybody to learn my secrets. I think I know best. That sounds crazy, instead of saying, like, oh, I see my employee as super valuable. They care about my business as much as I do. And we both have really strong strengths at opposite ends of the spectrum. So the business is supported perfectly on both ends. That sounds way more appealing to me than just being like, I don't want to share. It's all me. I'm
Right.
going to do it all. I need control. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. You really need to shift your mindset if you want to scale. No millionaire, billionaire does it alone.
Exactly. You want to also make sure, right? We talked about boundaries and expectations. this also goes with like your employees. You want to make sure that you're setting the right expectations because of, again, it goes back to communication. I'm very much like open door and like I tell my girls too, like if there's anything that you think I need to do to make your work more efficient, let me know. I think that's pretty much all I have, Haley. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of add?
Be really mindful to burnout in your business. Work with a some type of bookkeeping finance professional to help you understand when it is time to outsource, or like with you, whenever I bring in anything new, whether it's a back-end employee, a machine, we put together a plan and we're like, how many treatments, how many hours, how many clients do I need to see to get this paid off or for it to start making money for me. So have somebody in your corner to put a plan together for you to make sure that this is the right move in business. Also, delegating out to anybody is going to be a learning curve, no matter what it is. Even if you
Hmm.
use a social media company, because like what you said in one of the past episodes, you were
Yeah.
like, they started their strategy and I needed to kind of tell them that that didn't super align with me. You've
Right.
got to be comfortable giving that feedback and also be comfortable receiving that feedback back yourself. I allow Jessica to tell me about myself. There was one time on the phone where she humbled my ass so hard. Every time we would start a phone call for whatever reason, I would never say, "Hey, how are you?" Because we talk all day long. Like the conversation never ends. We just pick up where we left off. But she would answer and I'd be like, dude, it's like so hot today. Like I'm in my car, I'm sweating. It's 95, 112 degrees, whatever. And she'd be like, I've kind of noticed that every time you answer the phone, like you always have like a comment that's kind of negative. She's like, why do you do that? And I was like, you know what? I don't know, but like I need to stop. Like, that's probably not, you probably don't enjoy getting my phone calls and being like, oh, what is she going to say now? You know?
Mhm.
So be really open to that feedback. So we said, have a professional to be in your corner to make sure you can do that. Be open to the feedback, see how your employee can help you grow with the delegating. It's not going to be like set in stone. You can always change the tasks, change the pay, do whatever, change the approach as you grow in business. Have a good plan for hiring on the employee, have really strong interviews, do multiple interviews. I got that advice from another esthetician. She was like, do three to make sure you not only get them on their best day when they're well prepared, but you get them multiple times and ask them a different array of questions so that you know this is the best business move. But yeah, set clear expectations just like we would as a
Right.
service provider to a client. I will, like, if Jessica's falling behind because she does have a 5-year-old and I have a 6-year-old, and so we both fall behind because we're working moms. I
It's
just
like
have to
it's
be like,
life.
dude, I need yeah, I'm like, so I just set very clear expectations. I'm like, hey, I need an update today. I need to know when this is going to be done. This is our launch date. This is why we're doing this by this time. Let me know when this is going to be wrapped up. Just set very clear expectations and allow them to do that for you as well.
Right. I'm just like, and don't be scared of like coming off a certain way or anything, because at the end of the day, it's your business. You need to do what's best for your business. But also with you hiring the right person, you're building a relationship. So, they're going to know how you are. Just like sometimes with my bookkeeper, like sometimes she'll fall behind, and I'm just like, hey, like it's the 10th. Why aren't these? Because my goal is to send out all the financials by the 15th. So I'm just like, why is this one like not started yet? Or what's going on here? But like she's never like, oh, what a bitch. Or, but it's because
Yeah,
she
no.
knows. Yeah, like she knows and she
Also,
understands, like, yeah.
nobody wants to be wandering around work aimlessly. So, like, it is
Mhm.
okay to touch base or to just say, hey, here's my morning email. This is kind of what I want to touch on today. Let me know your thoughts by end of the day. You do need to be assertive.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's like all I was going to say is like,
Yeah.
you do need to be assertive and very
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, I do weekly meetings with my admin. And then there's times that I don't really have anything to go over because like we're on top of it, but I still
Mhm.
have the meeting just to touch base with her. Like, hey, how are you doing? Like even to that like extent, like, even, and again, I know she's like my sister, my best friend, and I say this all the time, right? But and we have like communication outside of work, but I'm still like, yeah, let's have our meeting. Like, is there anything that I need to do on my end to help you do whatever you need to do? Or are there any
Right.
questions or what's going on here? And she knows, like, okay, we're going to touch base. Like, any questions that I may have that I didn't get answered or anything pressing that she needs to do, which, sometimes leave her on red, and she'll be like, "Hey, I texted you. Like, we need to
Yeah.
do this," you know? So, and that's something that I really appreciate about her too, is that, she's just like, "Hey, what's going on?" Yeah, she's like, "I fucking told
Yeah.
you." No. And then I'm just like, "Oh, sorry, it's because of this. Let me get to it now." So it's like we have that relationship where we're not gonna take everything like personal. Like we are working for the better of the business. But if you're going to hire like a service provider, right, that's going to be under you, definitely do multiple interviews because you want to make sure that their personality aligns with your personality. And I always tell all of my clients that they're wanting to hire an employee, I'm just like, you want to have a 90-day plan, right? So like the first 30 days, it's going to
Yes.
be very hands on. You're going to train and go like back and forth. And then the next 30 days, you're going to kind of let them do their own thing, but you're going to supervise and you're still going to be there for any questions and stuff. And then the last month, it's really for them to kind of do it on their own and see how well they do by themselves. And then after that 90-day mark, you're going to really see, okay, well, they implemented everything that I taught them or that we trained or that I coached them on, we're good to go. Or, you know what, we still need to work on this. And you're going to have to extend the training a little bit. But you always want to have like a 90-day plan, and you want to be, especially if they're fresh out of school, because like Haley said, not everybody didn't have a great school experience. They're going to have so many questions. So you want to make sure that you're there and kind of molding them to the standard of your business. You want to make sure that you go over like your policies, but like your intent statement for the business, and that they're implementing that, and that they have all the traits that you want them to have, because they're going to deal with your clients. And then if you hire an employee and don't train them, and or rush the training process, then that's going to reflect negatively back to you because you're the business owner.
It is. I will also say too, like last little thoughts, where I've seen other estheticians specifically or other hairstylists fail. And I mean hairstylists and estheticians who are not renting a room to somebody, but truly hire them on as a W
Yeah.
2 employee, is not making your employee responsible for their own social media account and not holding your employee accountable for bringing in some of their own clientele through their own marketing. Because what happens in our industries, we're dealing with women and we're dealing with vulnerable things: skin, hair, the way we look, the way we feel about ourselves. It all ties back to mental health. Say if I'm on social media, clients are falling in love with me, and then I'm like, okay, when you come in, you're going to be with Stephanie. They're going to be like, oh, do you know what I mean? They related to me. They trusted me. They watched me for a year. It takes most clients watching you for 3, 6 months to a year before they actually come in to see you. In most cases, those are like average stats. So if they build that bond with you through the screen, and then when it's time to come in, they don't get you, they get somebody else, they are going to be disappointed. So I will say, if you are a service provider wanting to outsource to an in-person employee, you need to have some expectation and set them up for success and teach them, make that part of the training on your brand identity, how you want
Yes.
them to show up in your brand, and making them responsible for regular social media content, even if it's just 1 to 2 posts a week, and maybe collaborating in the email marketing a little bit. Maybe sit down once a week and talk with your employees about what the emails that are going out should be, because when clients come in too, they're going to talk about those topics that were in the
Right.
email. You want everything to seem super seamless, but these clients are going to come to Stephanie or to Haley because they trust Stephanie or Haley. They're not just going to be like, oh, I love freckled skin. Most of my clients don't even know what my business is called. They always call it freckled faces. So I'm like, you really need to make sure. And I have no freckles on my face. It's so funny. It's like the only part of my body that doesn't have freckles. But you need to make sure that you're having that clear expectation with your employee as well. I see a lot of employees fail when they're brought into an aesthetic business specifically, or a hair business, because they're not being held accountable, or they're not even doing social media at all.
Mhm.
And then they
No,
end
and
up
I
with two
yeah.
clients a day. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they're not showing up and putting their face out anywhere. Nobody's connecting with them, building a bond. So why would they trust them?
Yeah, I love, 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 love that you said that too, because I see that a lot and I personally experience that too. So, the way that I run my business, so my bookkeeper, she's very just like behind the scenes, right? She'll like help me with the bookkeeping. She doesn't meet with clients or anything like that, but she does communicate with them from time to time. But I have my tax preparer, Ashley, who does,
I'm like,
um,
who's Ashley?
Yeah, so see, you don't know Ashley because I do your taxes. Like I personally do your taxes, right? But then
Oh, okay.
um yeah, so you never really have to meet with Ashley, but Ashley, she'll do consults and then she'll do like the tax overview too, right? During tax season. But that's one thing that I also have to kind of work on. I've worked on it through like my emails and like my email marketing is like introducing Ashley and introducing Shayla and talking about like Crystal, how she's my admin. Like, and I talk about my girls when to my clients when I do consultations or whatever the case is, right? So they know going in, I always say, like, I have a team. So you may not hear from me, but you may hear from Shayla, or you may not hear from me, but you may hear from Crystal. With Ashley, I'm just like at first it would kind of be a little hard to get her booked because she wasn't really on my social media. Like I didn't really introduce her like that. So like that's somewhere where I messed up personally too. And like that's something that I'm getting better at also is like having her, including her in my social media. So like this tax season, we're just like, all right, girl, you're gonna have to post some stuff so you could put your face out there and I'll talk about you too. And I've about her on my social media and stuff. But I'm just like, when people go to book for taxes, like they'll book with me and not with her. And I'm just like, there's no difference. Like I'm still reviewing
Yeah,
all the
I
tax
understand.
returns that Ashley's doing, you know? So you want to make sure you're including them on your website, you're including them in the emails, you're including them in your social media because people want to get familiarized with the team. Like I don't want people to say, oh, I'm working with Adriana. No, I'm working with Budget B. Like that's my goal because once
Yeah.
you're working with Budget B, I'm able to kind of step back a little bit, you know?
When you see your employees as a partner in your business and
Mhm.
not just as an employee who may leave in a few months to go solo, that's when you gain a long-term employee who's there for the better of your business. And that all starts with you changing your mindset about them.
Because I feel like if you don't outsource, honestly, you're going to essentially burn out and you're going to hit a cap if you don't outsource or delegate when you're ready to. And it definitely does pay off in the long run. So I hope this episode helped and, answer some of those questions or just, kind of changing that mindset.
And this is a topic we're going to have to cover more than once because there is so many levels to it. So let us know if y'all have any specific questions or specific scenarios that we can touch on, and we can make sure we follow up on that in a later episode.
Yeah. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Scaling Beautifully. We hope that today's conversation gave you the clarity and confidence to keep building your beauty business the smart way. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if you loved today's topic, share it with another beauty pro who's ready to scale. Until next time, keep serving clients with passion and running your business with purpose.
And if you're loving the podcast, we'd love for you to join our community beyond the audio. Head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch full video episodes and behind the scene content. And if you're ready to go even deeper, check out our Patreon. That's where we share bonus trainings, downloadable resources, and exclusive Q&As to help you scale beautifully. You'll find the links in the show notes below.
All right. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.